Hi Edoardo, hi Alessandra, hi Aurora. Mm,
Hi,
Hi,
nice to meet you,
Welcome.
Edoardo.
nice to meet you, and thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Welcome to the podcast. I think we already did like kind of like a podcast the first time we met because when we did like the interview for the Silicon Valley Fellowship, it was like last year. It was supposed to be like a 10-15 minute interview, but then I didn't have like other meetings afterwards, like same for you. And so I think we ended up talking for, I don't know, an hour or like
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that. Yeah, about
probably an
startups.
hour at least. Yeah,
So yeah, it was like super cool. And then yeah, and then we met in person in Silicon Valley. I think you attended the spring batch like in April
yeah,
of last year.
April
Uh,
last year, exactly.
exactly. And then yeah, after that, of course, we stayed like in touch for like all the all the other stuff that you're also like doing now back in Europe. So like maybe as a starting point, if you want to start a little bit sharing how was like your experience in Silicon Valley. I remember that you also came like many years ago, right? When you were like
Ex-
super young, and now
You're
that
right.
you have, like a lot of like experiences, like especially in startup and entrepreneurship. I was like different since like the first time, and yeah, like a little bit of an intro what you're also like working on right now.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And again, thanks for having me. As I say before, we started the live. I was looking for the previous interview. It was a very bad idea, so I have a very high benchmark right now. I raised the bar for myself for this interview, so I hope to meet to meet the expectation. But yeah, last year we met. I remember that conversation we had. It should last 10 minutes, and we stayed there for 1 hour because it was extremely interesting to share with you a bit of my experience. That you're right. I've been in Silicon Valley only two times. The first one I was 21 years old, so it was more or less a long time ago. I would say I'm 38 right now, and things were a little bit different. Obama was the president at the
Yeah.
time. It was at the beginning of the mandates, probably, and yeah, but was the energy was there. That was the things that didn't change. Basically, it was exactly the same that they felt last year when I came for the April batch of Silicon Valley Fellowship. I was there, the first time I was there because I was working for a software company. It was my first job. So I was starting in the software development world as a software developer, and I had this occasion to join a conference there. I spent 10 days in Silicon Valley, and again, the level of energy that I found at the time was incredible. I was a young guy starting, working in his first job, and I saw, I don't know, the big building from Adobe was close to my hotel, and then when you go through San Jose and all these places, and you see the brands that you usually only see on the screen of your computer was a kind of unexpected emotion, and that was my first job, and that didn't went quite good. But in 2009 was the end of 2009, so 1 year later I lost my job because the company that I was working for went bankrupt. So not a good experience. I,
But
I, I can
you
share.
in San Francisco, or you were there just for the event?
No, I was there just for a conference, but and then we were a partner of a local company. It was an Austin-based company that was partner of us, and we were working together. And they have this annual meeting in annual conference in San Francisco. So I attended just the 2008 edition. And in 2009, more or less one year later, the company that I was working for was not going so well, so they shut down the company from the Friday to the Monday. So on Friday night I had a job, and on Monday no more job, basically. So it was a kind of stressful experience, but I was really young at the time, so I reinvented myself quite quickly, I would say, because I started as a consultant in a matter of days, inheriting some of the clients that I met working for my previous for the company that went bankrupt. Started to add new customer as an advisor, working on as a software programmer and consultant on the kind of business intelligence business and something like that, analysis and something like that. And this consultancy job, this software developer slash consultancy job, went quite well, extremely fast. So I decided to start my first company at the beginning of 2010. So I became an entrepreneur for the first time. I was 23 at the time, and was, trial and error, more or less, because I had completely no experience in running a company. So I started hiring people. I started to sign contract with the first customer. We were developing software for the transport and logistic industry, so for the transport and logistics sector, with clients coming from, carrier, courier, express courier, and companies like that were handling huge volumes of data already at the time. Right now is even higher, the volumes they have to manage, but already at the time they had a lot of needs in terms of software development that can handle these huge volumes. And we developed part of the technology that helped some of our customers in handling the requests from their own customers. And that company that I founded in 2010 still runs. I'm right now in their office.
Oh, wow.
I'm still a partner. Yeah. That's the logo of the company. So I'm still here. It's a small software factory based here in Torino, where I live, and it still operates. I'm still involved as a partner, but I'm not more executive in the company. I don't have an executive role in the company since 2020, and. From the first year when I managed that company, we spinned off some R&D project, testing some kind of new technology, testing some kind of new solution that can become a product. Because Ellipse, this was the name of the company, is more a consultancy firm. So they develop software specifically on the requirements of their own customer. But the idea of building our own product was already there from the beginning. So in 2015, we had the first occasion to start something and to transform what was at the time an R&D project into a company itself. So we spinned off one software, one product that became completely autonomous and completely independent, not dependent from Ellipse, which was called Realistico, and was a product for a completely different industry, because we were targeting the real estate industry. So an industry that I really don't know at the time. So I learned how it worked, starting to sell our own product. And Realistico was a virtual tour platform. So basically, imagine Google Earth, or the 360 view of any restaurant or place that you can have on Google Maps, but for the home that you are purchasing, for the home that you can find on immobiliare.it or Idealista or Zillow. In 2015, there were a lot of platforms like that were starting to provide this type of service to people looking for a new home. And Realistico went quite successful, because between 2015 and 2020, we managed to become the market leader of that type of service in Italy and Spain. So we have more than 10,000 real estate agents using our platform to show their own listing, that the home that they were selling, and was my first experience in building something completely from scratch, a product used by thousands of people in 2 different countries, in many languages. And then the content they were creating was seen by thousands of people that were looking for a new home. So it was an amazing experience, because you build something that people can use, and that people you can see the content that have been created through your platform. And it's something that, you are proud of, seeing your product being used by people, by real people, adopting your solution and buying your product, because it was a B2B SaaS. It was a quite straightforward model to apply. And then you see the content that has been created. So we managed to map with our technology 100,000 of places, of homes that have been sold or rented somehow across Europe. And in
Yeah,
2020, yeah.
sorry, I wanted to ask because you said that at the beginning you didn't have any experience on the sector of startup, and I was wondering how could you manage, first of all, to find the co-founder and the right co-founders, and then how you managed to have the right expertise next to you. So how did you manage to have insights from other people? And also about also the hiring part. How did you manage to
Yeah,
do that in the first time where you actually didn't have a company yet? And also part the funding part. How did
yeah.
you manage to have the fundings? Did you decided from the beginning to go to VCs, or would you have preferred to bootstrap? How was the strategy? And this is really interesting
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me.
About co-founders, I can say that I've been lucky, simply lucky, because at the beginning, when I founded my first company that was completely bootstrapped, I had really just lost my job 1 week before, basically. So when I started as a consultant, no cash was needed to just run a consultancy service. Then I accumulated a bit of saving that helped me starting the real company, so Ellipse, that was founded in 2010. And to found that company, I decided to have a co-founder. So one of my ex-colleagues helped me in that stage, but he never became executive in the company. So he stayed as a contributor from the external, but never became full time on that company. So it helped me on the strategy a bit. He has a little bit more of experience on that. So together we found a way to start the company and to start the business. So we have to hire the first people. And again, I rely a bit on the network I had at the time, even if it was at the beginning. I've been lucky enough to meet very good software developers, very good analysts, very good person with different skill that can be combined. So it was difficult at the time because when you have basically nothing to offer because you are really at the beginning, you have to convince people to trust your face in the first place, and then the idea you have behind the type of business you want to build, because at the beginning it's your laptop and maybe a PowerPoint. And hiring that condition was tough, but again, the trust we built in the previous experience helped us in hiring people that we already knew from the previous experience. And then we started hiring from the external, and we started to have a small team.
You started
This
hiring
exact
also before, sorry, having like the funds, like you started hiring basically, and
uh,
they okay, this part also like
Yeah, at the beginning, in that case, we've been able to, that saving that I personally accumulated in the first part was the basic funds we have in order to do the first two hiring, if I remember correctly. So with these two first hirings, we managed to sign two important contracts with customer, and with the revenues coming from those customers, those contracts, we've been able then to start the business and hire other people. But it was really the most bootstrapping experience I've had, because even in 2015, when I founded my second company, Realistico, it was slightly different because I already have, the background from Ellipse, not just in terms of experience, but also in terms of resources. So Ellipse financed a little bit the inception of Realistico. So we have a little bit more funds, a little bit more experience, and we managed to start in a easier way. But this time, the business was completely different. So the business model was B2B SaaS, software as a service. So subscription needs quite some time at the beginning, especially for B2B, to build the monthly recurring revenue, so the MRR. And you need some time to cover the expense for the beginning, for the bootstrapping phase. But again, we decided to bootstrap also that business. So we just use it in our own funds and a small debit from a bank. So we had credit from a bank, and we managed to start the company. And then it took more or less 2 years to really start having the business running. And then at the third year, we managed to have a close to a profitable company. And at the fourth year, it came the occasion to sell the company, to have an acquisition, so to exit that business by selling to one of our customer that was a big proptech that was scaling very fast at the time in 2020, and they acquired us. But again, to choose if you want to bootstrap or to want to raise capital is a very tough decision. I just had to take this type of decision, choosing VC right now in the company that I'm starting right now, that I started at the beginning of the year. While for the two previous experience, I decided to bootstrap because I had the opportunity to run that way. Because if you can run on your own capital and you don't have to, give away your equity, it can be the better solution in most of the case. But if you want to build something big that needs time in order to reach some, grow milestone, it probably requires to access external capital and to raise some funds. But I can say that there's a right choose or a right solution or a bad solution. There's different cases, different scenarios, and you have to choose what is the best compromise for you. It can be also to combine the two solutions together. I've seen a lot of companies rising very small capital at the beginning and then going for profitability very fast, or the other way around, rising a lot of capital because the goal for profitability comes in, I don't know, 10 years maybe. Everybody knows Amazon, how much time it took for them to be profitable. So it's a combination of variables that you have to manage, and you have to choose the best path for you. And hiring and all the rest comes accordingly to that strategy. For instance, right now that in a new company that I just founded, we raised some capital, so we've been able to hire people at the very beginning, and
And so, like initially for both companies, you provide that investor could invest in the company, like to give money or not, only loans from the bank.
Well, the option was there, but we decided to go for the bootstrap option. So if we wanted to rise for the second company, that was a B2B SaaS in
For the
2015,
second
and
company, you already had funds that maybe that the money that you raised from the first one, and for the first one, like you
for
let
the
the
first
investor.
for the first one, the situation was critical because the type of business was not VC ready, so you cannot ask for external funds for that, and we
You
had
didn't.
no capital, so it was a way to, okay, let's try to sign the first contract and let's keep our resources until we get the money from the first invoice we're gonna send to the customer. So it was really tough, the first one. Second was not, plain vanilla, but was a little bit easier because of the experience and the resources we have behind us. And the third one, I will say, it was a little bit facilitated by the experience itself, by the track record,
But
because
is the one
if
that you're working right now?
right
Okay.
now, yeah, I'm
And
gonna
I
tell
guess
you a bit on
yeah,
this.
it's like this one is like VC backed. I mean, we're also talking a little bit about some like maybe practical insights about how it's like maybe difficult to kind of like I don't know, build the like stock options, like some technical details for like issuing stocks to the employees or like maybe to the investors. So I think it's something that you learned recently, right? Because you didn't need to like know all about this in the bootstrap company. So I don't know if you want like to share some
For
advice or like
sure.
some practical insights or like some resources that people might be find useful in Europe. I mean, we also like did it here in the US, but it's like quite standard and straightforward. So I'm also like curious to know how it works in Europe.
Yeah, you got it right. I just had the experience because I spent, just to close the loop. After I sold my company, my previous company, Realistico, to Casavo, that was a company that was scaling a lot in 2020. I spent 3 years and a half staying there as a manager, as a director of the company that acquired our own. I learned a lot about VC-backed company at the time because Casavo was able to rise between equity and debt more than 800 million, so was a champion in terms of fundraising in Europe. And I learned a bit because I was not directly involved in the fundraising or in the employee stock option plan, but I was a beneficiary of the type of plan at the time. But I learned the basics from this topic. So when I decided to start another company, because after joining the Silicon Valley Fellowship last year, I decided, okay, let's build something again. That was basically the reason why I joined. I was looking for the inspiration, and when I decided, I've been able to count on the experience that I've made in the bootstrapping experience before, and then spending 3 years and a half in a venture-backed company. I saw the other option, and I say, okay, let's take the good part of both type of companies. Let's try to combine the idea for the company that I've just launched, which is called Homepay, and that's it's a fintech company. So usually fintechs requires capital in order to start, because you have banking license topic, regulatory topics, compliance, a lot of things that cost a lot of money, money for the lawyers, basically. The option to raise capital was quite no-brain option. So you have to go for that path. The bootstrapping option was not an option. But I spent a lot of time last year, right after the Silicon Valley Fellowship, understanding two things. Okay, the idea of the business is feasible, is something that we can build, and the market is ready to absorb the type of service, this type of product. This was obviously the priority.
And in
And
order
then,
to understand that, sorry if I stop you, like
yeah,
you
no worry.
did, like you, for the market validation, like you did service landing page, like how you managed to understand that customers, that there was that need of that product, of that service.
We used every tool we had, basically. So from personal conversation, because we were lucky to start a new service again in the same industry. So again, real estate in this case, like Realistico. So we already had a very extended network in Italy and Spain, the two countries that again we want to attack as to target at the beginning. So we started from personal conversation with really a lot of professional of the industry that can become the customer, the client of the new venture. And then again, surveys, landings, fake ads. We tested everything that can help us understand if the service we have in mind was, again, something that the market want. And on the other side, we have to test if it was feasible, because, okay, how complex it is to get a banking license. It's complex. Spoiler, it's complex. So you have to find alternative ways, like the banking as a service model that can basically rent you their own license and let you use their own license in order to start building your own services, your fintech services on top of it. And again, on the other side, also we want to start in Europe. We want to target Southern Europe as first market, and we want to run a banking license. So the option to incorporate the company on the other side of the ocean in US was not an option. We have to stay European, and being European, we decided to be an Italian company, a limited liability company, so an SRL, a normal SRL, also because the level of incentives and, let me say, benefits that you can have are quite good. Probably but if you start a company and you qualified as an innovative startup, which is a fiscal definition of a company, you can access some benefits from the government, from the state. So, for instance, if you have an individual investing in your own startup, 100K, they get a tax benefit, a tax incentive for the 65% of that amount. So they receive back 65K the next year, which is something that is difficult to replicate in other countries in Europe. So it's a good level of benefit, but on the other side, you have more complexity and more bureaucracy, basically, especially if you compare to US. So you still have to rely on the notaries. You have to rely on notaries, not just for the incorporation, but even if you have to do an increase of capital and a lot of other things requires.
What are the costs, like, more or less, to get an idea, if you need like to know increase
for the incorporation can go from 1.5K to 2.5K. It depends on the complexity of your bylaw, of the rules of the company.
At least for the notario, or like for everything, like for the notary?
No, just for the notary. For the notary. Then you have the lawyer to prepare you the document if you want to use non-standard documents. And for a capital increase, so let's assume that you sign a SAFE, a simple agreement for future equity with your investor. Then at a certain point, you have to increase the capital of the company to allow the people to join, your investors to join the cap table. Even the declaration for the capital increase requires a notary in Italy, and it's something like 2K to 2.5K to just have the start of the capital increase. So there's a bit more cost on one side and a bit more complexity that are partially balanced by the very good incentive schema that you have right now, but that was quite recent because it's something that have been introduced, I think, 3 years ago or 4 years ago, not more than that. Was not there when I started my first company for transparency.
And when did you build the company? Like after you had the validation of the product, or so like before? And also before having the funds or after? Because given that the cost that you had to incur for this.
Well, we have some saving that helped us to also because of the selling of the previous company, because I've been joined by the co-founder of my previous company, joined also this one, so we were both after exit, so we have some saving that we can use to start a new one. And we invested last summer, the second part of last year, basically in running this validations test and all the exploration with the lawyers regarding the regulatory topics and the banking license topics, and also the legal framework we have to use to run the type of services that we want to run, because it was something that is quite new. So you have to design a legal framework to run it. And obviously this required a bit of mine. So we hired more fintech specialized lawyer available in Italy, and we asked them to produce a memorandum to understand if what we have in mind was feasible from a legal standpoint. And we decided to incorporate the company at the end of the summer. So it was beginning of October or something like that we decided. And then we produced everything that was needed. So the cost for the notary, all the papers that you need to prepare. And the company was incorporated in late November. Obviously, we have to spend our own money but at the same time was between October and November, we started, creating some kind of network on the Italian VC ecosystem. So we started to talk at the beginning only with business angel that can, contribute maybe with a very small ticket, with a very small check on the inception of the company. And then it was
you already started operating, like while this angel investor started provided.
We were already, me and the third co-founder, we were already operating from the summer, basically. Mikkel, which was the third co-founder, was still working for the company that acquired our previous one. So he joined a little bit late, but we were every evening, every night, we were already working on this project. But we were not obviously paying ourselves anything. We were not able to hire someone until we raise a little angel round at the beginning. Then immediately after we incorporated the company, we started this small angel round, which was not disclosed, so I cannot say that the amount, but it's not a huge amount. It's something that allowed us to start to really start the company from January, basically. And so we've been able to select the banking provider, the banking as a service provider, and hire them to use their own license, to hire the first technical and product people in the team, and start building the product and building everything is needed. Then the time for the regulatory approval in order to even use a third-party license require months. So you cannot start. It's strange to run a fintech business right now, because when you hear about, I don't know, we were talking about Replit or Lovable or companies that went so fast at the beginning. It's extremely frustrating somehow to start your own fintech business. It requires 6 months just to get the approval to start. So it's a little bit stressful, but again, it requires you to raise. It can be a small amount of capital, but you need to have some capital behind you in order to, let's invest the next 6 to 12 months, maybe, just to build the product, build the team, continue the validation, maybe start building your waiting list, start building your sales pipeline in order to be ready. But fintechs usually requires long time to allow you to operate, to start operating your own business. And that's the case for us.
having like those angels at the beginning is kind of like useful to have like some operators, right? That maybe they have like experience, so maybe they put like a small check, but they can kind of like help you with their expertise, like maybe with their contacts that they already have, that could be potential clients, like potential
Exactly.
partners. So I think that's
Exactly.
super
It's
important.
it's a traditional wheel effect, but it's a wheel effect on many topics, because a business angel can connect to his own network and help you raise an other capital from other business angel, or can make you in contact with funds or VCs that you need for that stage or for the next stage. Most of the case you need them in the seed stage, and having good names that are in the industry or involved with company in the industry, it's an extremely good point. So it's something that I will suggest to everybody, especially if they have their own hands in the industry. They can connect with a lot of people. So we've been lucky, also thanks to Silicon Valley Fellowship, to connect to people that were in the payment industry or in the real estate industry, that were the field that are very close to what we are doing. And this also helped us in involving VC funds, small VC funds from the beginning, also in the pre-seed round that we just closed. And obviously, this will help us in the next stage. That obviously will require more validation, some initial metrics, some signals from the market in order to raise the additional capital we need in the next stage.
But do you have in the team, like, because it was a fintech, so also the tech part was important, like a software engineer inside that could do like most of the job, or you had to rely on a team of software engineers, so someone like outside in order to help you produce that? And how did you leverage this between advisors, maybe tech advisors that were part of the team, but then the team maybe of software engineers that would have to build the MVP 01 and the final product?
Yeah. In our case, again, we were lucky that our one of our co-founder, Nikhil, that was also the CTO, and it's still developing right now the part of the software by his own. Our two first hiring were both on the product and technical side, so to design the platform and to develop the platform. So until now, we've been able to not rely on external firms, on external consultants. So I will always suggest to keep it internal if it's possible, because it's the value of the knowledge that people can put when you keep it internal at the beginning is extremely valuable. And also the level of speed, the level of engagement internal people can have with your own product is much higher than what you can have from the external. And
And
also
they
compared
become
to
like, sorry, do they become like CTOs, or they like work for equities? So they are basically outside
It's
of
a good
the part
point.
of the team.
Mikkel is a co-founder,
Co-founder.
so yeah, so it's
Co-founder.
co-founder and CTO. And while me and
Yeah.
Carlos, which is the third co-founder, we are more on the business side. So I'm the CEO, and Carlos is the COO, because Carlos will take care of a lot of topics like compliance, regulatory topics, and all the other stuff, while I manage a little bit more the commercial side of the company. And we divided this. At the beginning of the company, we are still a very small team. Everybody does everybody basically, so it's quite normal. Then you start to design, some kind of ownership and responsibility going forward. But one important topic about software development is how, and you perfectly know, how the world just changed so rapidly in the last few years. So we just decided to participate a technical hiring this month, because of how much Cursor is helping us developing the platform. It's incredible, even to say something like that. So we are participating in hiring because we are going much faster than expected in developing backend and front end of our platform. Even if we're talking about I would say complex fintech infrastructure. So it's something that was not there 2 years ago.
Yeah,
So
it's
you
something that
can.
also many like big tech companies, like super well-funded startups, are doing, right? So like maybe in 2021 it was like a crazy period, like crazy valuations, a lot of funding. So there's been like a lot of hiring, and then there was like the period of like getting fit. So like a lot of yeah, people have been fired, kind of like getting more in shape, getting fit. And now you see that there have been some people that have been hired like recently, but the revenue per employee is kind of like increased a lot. So now there is like
Yeah,
companies that are like growing like crazy, but they don't really need to hire super like large teams of like people. Even Sam Altman, like I think at OpenAI now they're like almost 3,000 people. He said that okay, we are not gonna be like a 50,000 people company. Like there is like
probably never.
need for that.
Probably never.
Exactly, exactly.
But
Like
even
Google
if you
has a
start,
comparison is like 180,000 people more or less
yeah,
at this point.
an army of engineers.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's incredible that as an entrepreneur you have to shift. And I was challenged just yesterday by one of my co-founder on this. So he told me, don't don't redo the things we were doing 3 years ago, 4 years ago, because the landscape changes so much that probably something that I learned 3 years ago, 4 years ago is not valid anymore at the same level. So I don't know. You have to build a commercial strategy. What are you going to do? You're probably going to test your say speech on ChatGPT or any other LLM. You're probably using Blend AI or any other
go
tool
Salvan.
to do some part, maybe not the full play, but parts of your journey can be completely automated. So this obviously is reflected on how you plan your hiring plan, how you plan the cost of the company, how you plan the size of the company, maybe in 3, 5 years. So it changes a lot. The level of productivity that is expected right now is higher than 3 years ago. On the other side, obviously, that's a counter effect, which is in terms of employment, that usually this kind of company, as you perfectly stated, where hiring a lot of people, where generating a job for a lot of people, it will probably, again, even in the tech industry, is going to change, and is changing right now.
Yeah,
So even
yeah.
when you start your small European company, you have a different path in front of you.
Yeah, I think like the good part, like the optimistic like view, is that I mean, even like in your own experience was like that, right? Like you lost your job because like the company got like bankrupt. Like in many, what I see also like here in Silicon Valley, like maybe in many of like those cases, like big tech companies or like startups don't need to hire so many people, but it's super like way easier to also start your own company. So actually, like
Yeah.
it's not that all those people are gonna be like unemployed and like do nothing, but it's like way easier to maybe start companies than it was like maybe like 15 years ago when you basically like started your own journey in venture.
Yeah, the times change, and this is from the beginning of time. Again, at the same time, you know that not everybody is born to be an
To
entrepreneur.
be
It's
an
not something
entrepreneur,
that
yeah.
everybody want to do. It's a level of stress, a level of uncertainty which is very, very
Commitment,
high.
determination,
Exactly.
motivation, and hard work.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. It's not plain vanilla. It's not easy at all. For sure, the landscape is changing, and it is allowing you to build a company that, I don't know, 3 years ago it required 50 people to be run. Maybe you can run by your own right now. And there are businesses like that we cannot even imagine right now. Probably will be generated in the coming years. Type of business
Yeah.
that are not even in our mind right now. But again, most of the people don't want to be an entrepreneur. I realized this recently because I probably when you are
Yeah, it's kind of a bubble, right? That you imagine, okay,
yeah,
like
it's
everybody
it's a
wants to do
bubble.
this and everything, but
Sometimes speaking with my friends, I say something that make them say, no, Edo, it's not like you're thinking. It's not that way. I don't want to do that type of things. But in my mind was quite normal to do this type of stuff. But again, it changed a lot. Everybody is talking about that, and it influences how you build a company in Europe, in US, in every part of the world. And again, having at the same time, you don't have to fall in type of mistakes like saying, okay, I'm not gonna hire anybody, I'm gonna automate everything. You have to test, to do some trial and error for every process. Maybe that specific process can be completely automated. Maybe the other one still requires a human, and it will require for 4 years maybe. And you have to test on your own product, on your
yeah,
own company.
like
Give me a suggestion. Oh, okay.
No,
Sorry.
go for it.
No, I wanted to ask so if you have suggestion for future or young entrepreneurs to become maybe an entrepreneur, or maybe if there are skills that you'll say you have to have this. Also because of course you are like in an like you were software developer, so you also had like the technical skills, and also then you develop the managerial skills. But maybe if someone that is studying, I don't know, economics or business and wants to build its own maybe startup or company but doesn't have the technical skills, do you think that what are the core competencies that he has to build in order to like be successful?
Yeah, to be honest, this type of suggestion, I was doing this type of suggesting to learn to code to a lot of
Mhm.
people until I think last year. But recently I discovered, okay, the type of basics that I have in terms of coding and programming, they've been extremely useful for my career. I remember when I became a manager in the company that I acquired. So I started for 3 years and a half. I've been an employee, not an entrepreneur. And I remember the unfair advantage I have on some topics. Like, okay, guys, we need to run the analysis on those data about the sales from last quarter. Yeah, and people were waiting for analysts to run the analysis when I was writing my SQL to do the query and extract the data I need. So I basically had the report one day before the other managers. So I saw this technical advantage, and also when I was speaking with product teams and tech teams, I've been able to speak the same language, and was an extremely it was extremely facilitating for me because I can understand. Okay, guys, it took 1 month to develop that specific button, while for the manager that was seated right after me, it was I don't know why it took 1 month to develop that component. And so it was a different level of consciousness of the tech complexity, and also an extremely facilitated access to data, information, and analysis. But right now, things changed. So probably I've been able to being having been able to code in and before is not providing that unfair advantage that they provided 2 years ago. So I will still suggest to know the basics, because even if Cursor or Claude or everybody else is doing a great job in developing code, so even someone with no skills, not technical skills, can develop an app, you still need to know what you're doing at least, or not what to ask to an LLM to develop some software, and it still can help you a bit. Probably in 5 years it can be not so valuable, not anymore.
Okay.
Uh, but a general soft skill that I always suggest is to be able and to learn to listen. And it can be a very general suggestion, can be also a bit idealistic, but it's in a, I don't know, if you are in the commercial side, in the commercial field, you need to listen in order to be able to sell anything.
In
You
fact,
cannot
for the
sell
commercial
anything.
side, exactly, I was saying this is one of the most important aspects of a business, because you have to sell a product. So I was wondering, how do you usually like pitch your ideas if you are with a person you want to just to test it right away, or if you do to investors, how do you actually usually approach that part?
Again, listening is the core component of my sales strategy. And when I say sales, it can be sales for everything. It can be selling you the company, it can be selling you the project in order to get funds. It can be selling you the product because you are a target customer. So when we were, for instance, validating the idea of this last venture, we were we've been in their shoes, in the shoes of the target customer. So we managed that. Just a short parenthesis. Homepay is removing the bank checks, the physical bank checks that you still need in order to buy a home in Southern Europe, especially in Italy. So we are basically just providing a new payment method that is not the standard, by replacing the old method, which is something really from the past. But again, we experienced the problem so many times because we were working in a company that was buying and selling properties. So we experienced the problem by our own. What I think we did well was that we fell in love with the problem and not the solution we want to develop. So we listen a lot the type of problem that usual customer can have, that we as professional, as part of the business, we had in with our own. We saw the problem with our own eyes, basically, and then we listen for the many corner case that you can have from other professional, other potential clients that we had, and that was a crucial part of the validation of the initial idea, and we developed the entire solution based on that feedback. But again, was about listening, was about the capability to listen to what is going to be your client, and it's quite the same if you. I don't know. I'm not an expert because I did fundraising just one time. I cannot sell myself as an expert, but knowing who you're gonna meet, who is the decision maker, who is what is the vintage of the fund, what is
The
the
needs.
standard ticket, the needs, what is their investment thesis. You need to do your homework even before the meeting. You need to know exactly who you're going to meet, what type of portfolio they already founded, and so on. And then for the very first part of that meeting, I was just listening and asking questions to them. And then I started pitching my own startup, my own idea. And that was, again, it helped me a lot in reaching that type of confidence with the people I was talking with. So it's a general soft skill. It's applicable in a lot of things, in
and
a lot of scenario, not only
and
business
also,
related also.
also like maybe like regarding advice in general to kind of like increase your surface of luck, and also like for young people. I remember that you told me that there are like so many people that write you like about Silicon Valley Fellowship, like some tips, stuff like that. Like maybe if you want like to say something, so like every time that like some people write to you, you can just like
I
send
can
them
send the
this
video.
yeah, this video, like you have like some recommendations to like take advantage of like most of the experience in Silicon Valley, like in general, some yeah, some.
You are too scalable, Eric. Too scalable. This is a scalable solution for SVF feedbacks. Yeah, I always tell you that so many people is asking me about my experience of last year when I joined the batch. I always say basically the same thing, that it was perfect for the moment of my life because I was just leaving the company that I acquired my own company. I just spent those 3 years and a half there. So I need to switch and decide, okay, what I'm going to do next. And since I was, again, very involved, very motivated in terms of, running a new company, but I was looking for, that signals that say, okay, this is the right time. You don't have to, I don't know, look for a managerial job or join some big corps or something like that. These were the option at the time. But when I joined the SVF, I was able to see two things. Basically, the mix of people that were participating helped me a lot to have this type of peer review of your ideas, of your thoughts, what you have in mind. So it was a kind of contamination that was extremely helpful. And then you have the content of the program, and I still remember very quickly when we went to Stanford to meet with Giacomo Marini, and I found his
Founder of
speech
Logitech.
yeah, the co-founder of Logitech, was so inspiring. And he also worked in the 70s in Olivetti, and I'm from Ivrea, so it was extremely emotional for me to speak to someone that worked in Olivetti at the time. And then he co-founded one of the most famous company that I never use. I think that I don't know anybody that didn't use one Logitech product once in a lifetime. So
Yeah.
it's probably one of
Mouse
the
and
most
keyboard.
common, yeah, a webcam or something like that. And the technology they built is embedded in many things that we use and we currently use. So it was very inspiring, and it was inspiring also his, how he tell us the story about the Silicon Valley, about the development of the Silicon Valley in the last 30 years. And that was the type of, inspiration and the level of ambition that I want to breathe by being there in that week. So it was extremely valuable for me. And also the connection I've built in that time with you, with the rest of the team. We're still in touch. We are still in contact with some of them. Someone helped me introduce you yourself. You introduced me to people that helped me in my new project. So even someone became an investor of the new company. So
And
this
Leonardo, I
network
was wondering,
effect was very valuable.
yeah, and like, did you go there with an objective when you went to Silicon Valley or not? And another question, what would you suggest to young entrepreneurs that would like to build a startup and are thinking also about building a prototype, for example, for a tech startup nowadays? Why should they and how should they make the most of experience in the Silicon Valley if they're going, for example, now?
Well, my only objective was, I had basically two objectives. One was, again, to see and to rise the bar of my level of ambition. So I've built a company before, but it was a bootstrapping company. It was successful, but it was not a huge exit, not a huge success. It changed my life. So I've been extremely lucky and grateful for that experience. But I wanted to rise the bar, and that was the right environment to do so. On the other side, to build the network was the second object. So contact that I've been able to build, to create in that week were extremely helpful then in the months in the coming in the months after. So these were the two main objective of my week there. And about what to suggest to people that want to start, I remember that in my batch there were a couple of people that were starting or willing to start a company, and I remember that type of network that you can build there by being there, by participating to the session, and also spending every single hour you have. So the evenings, or I always suggest to, if you can, to keep 2-3 days after the week, because in the week you meet people that you can then join for, I don't know, a dinner or a breakfast in the late in the days come after the program ends, and can be extremely helpful. I was not able to do so at the time, but I suggested to everybody asked me to spend at least a couple of days more, and to compounding a bit the network you've been able to build, and to being introduced to other people, or to scan Luma or Eventbrite or every other things, because so many things happen then every week. So there are many occasions that you can connect even without moving the session from the fellowship. You can, I don't know, join something in the evening or the day after the weekends, and there are a lot of opportunities. It's the right place if you want to build a scalable business. Obviously, to have some kind of bridge with Silicon Valley, I think can be extremely helpful. Even just the personal contact of Eric can be extremely helpful. But if you stay there for a week, it's even better, I would
And
say.
then it was fun because then you also like brought this kind of like mentality and like this mindset also back like to like Italy, to Turin. I remember there was also like another friend of yours from Casavo that also joined, and it was like exactly the same story of you, because then he did like the fellowship. He wanted to do a business, and now he's also like building a startup like in the
It
real
is.
estate
It is.
and this kind of business. So that has been like super cool. So maybe if you want like to finish like the interview with like some resources, I don't know,
Mhm.
some books or like some podcasts, some
That
movies,
works.
yeah, some dogs that you find useful.
I don't know, I consuming a little bit the very traditional podcast that you perfectly know, like Acquired and this one,
That's
and
one of my
also that,
favorite ones.
yeah,
Yes.
that's still the
We
best.
also released
You have to
the
invest a
book
lot of
recently.
time. You need a lot of time because it's so long, but it's really the best. I really love to understand and get to know how these huge companies or these huge entrepreneur made their first step in their own journey. Like, probably they released Google. I just
Yeah,
started the first
recently.
5 minutes, I think, but
Yeah.
even the first 5 minutes were extremely interesting. So it's really something that I suggest to everybody. No,
We
I
also
don't
did
have.
a live episode here in San Francisco, actually, at the Chase Center, where like the Golden State Warriors play. I
Yeah.
think I was not able to join, but my co-founder Tommy went to the live session,
Wow.
and it was crazy. Basically, they interviewed Mark Zuckerberg, so he shared also a little
Oh
bit
my
his journey at Meta, what he's building now with AI and everything.
They are incredible, and you can see how much effort they put on each single episode because it's they. speak with the people that was in the restaurant at the time where the co-founder met. And they say, how did you get this information? It's
Yeah,
incredible.
there is like so many biographies, like all the resources that are online and everything. So yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
great job, great job. They earn every penny they are made it from that podcast, probably.
Amazing, amazing, cool. Then
Really,
yeah,
really
let's
amazing.
uh,
You're
let's see each
valuable.
other then in
Yeah, thank you
Silicon
very
Valley
much.
when you come back, or in Italy.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you very much
Amazing.
for the
Thank you very
experience.
much, then. Have a
thank you,
nice day.
guys.
Thank you.
It's
Bye
been a
Bye.
bye.
pleasure.
Bye, Eric.